I've been a barber for over 20 years. It's not just about shaving faces or cutting hair. I've been a listener, a silent witness to pain, confessions, and moments people don't share in public. On this old chair, with just a straight razor and time, I've heard stories that chill your bones and heal your soul. Some stories come from broken hearts, others from quiet regrets. But every now and then, someone walks in, looks me in the eye, and tells me a story that changes me. Today, with their blessing, I'm sharing one of those stories. Names have been changed, but the emotions, every word is true. This is the story of Clara, a single mom fighting to keep her daughter alive in a city that never looks back, and Cole Sterling, the billionaire tech CEO she once loved and who left without a goodbye. She came to me with eyes that had seen too much, her voice cracking like thunder after rain. She didn't come to complain. She came to confess. Because what happened in those 24 hours didn't just save a life. It exposed betrayal, shook a corporation, and forced two people to finally face the truth they'd been running from. So now, I'll let Clara tell it, like she told me. Have you ever felt the rain falling like the sound of your soul breaking? That night in Seattle, the rain didn't just fall. It lashed against the car windows like thousands of needles, each icy drop a mocking jab from fate. The wipers thrashed frantically, uselessly, just like the heart pounding in my chest. Because in that moment, time wasn't measured in minutes, but in the faint, fragile breaths of my daughter Maya in the back seat. Anaphylactic shock. Those two words hung like a death sentence. The doctor had warned me, but I, in the fatal mistake of an exhausted mother, let it happen. Now her face was turning blue, and my world was collapsing faster than the Queen Anne hill I was speeding down. The nearest hospital was too far. 911 wouldn't make it in time. In that frantic, desperate haze, my brain locked onto one singular goal: find the backup EpiPen. And I knew exactly where it was. Not in my medicine cabinet, but in the swankiest penthouse in this city, in a glass and steel tower called Apex Dynamics. In the apartment of the man I'd spent the last 5 years trying to erase from my memory. Hold up. You're probably wondering, why does this story start at such an absurd point? A single mom, a storm, a dying child, and the only hope lying in the hands of a tech CEO, a ghost from her past. In today's video, we're not just following a race against time. We're unraveling a story of pride, betrayal, and scars that never heal. We'll rewind 24 hours to see how a locket from a late mother sparked a conspiracy that could topple an empire. The question is pride worth more than a life? And when the past knocks at your darkest hour, do you open the door or let the storm swallow everything? Let's find out together. The storm of those 24 hours hadn't truly started yet, but its seeds were sown on a damp, gray Seattle afternoon. It all began in a place where final hopes often go to die, a rundown pawn shop tucked away in Pioneer Square. The air inside was thick with the musty smell of mildew, old leather, and used-up regrets. A tired neon bulb buzzed overhead, casting a sickly light on abandoned trinkets, silent guitars, rings stripped of their vows. I stood at the glass counter, my palms slick with sweat despite the chilly air outside. In my hand was a small silver necklace. Its heart was an oval locket, worn smooth by time and tender touches. This was the last keepsake my mother left me. It once held a tiny photo of her, but I'd taken it out and hidden it away. I couldn't bear the thought of her eyes watching this moment. The man behind the counter looked up. Doubt and exhaustion were etched into every wrinkle on his face. I slid the locket forward. My voice was barely a whisper. I need to sell this. He picked it up, rough and careless. A jeweler's loupe came up, inspecting not its beauty but the value of its meltable metal. Old sterling silver, he grunted. Not worth much. $100. $100. The offer hit like a slap. My throat tightened. But it's an antique. It's an old trinket in a city full of old trinkets. He cut me off, slamming the locket back onto the glass. 100. Take it or leave it. I don't got all day. $100. It would buy 2 doses of medicine for Maya. Enough to get her through the weekend until my waitressing paycheck came in. I glanced out the window. Seattle's rain like a liquid wall separating me from the rest of the world. I had no choice left. Swallowing my pride tasted bitter as metal. I'll take it, I said, my voice breaking. As he noisily counted out crumpled bills, I felt a piece of my soul being sold off for pennies. I snatched the money, too ashamed to look back at the locket one last time, and plunged into the rain, feeling like a thief fleeing the crime scene of my own life. And that's when I saw him. He stood across the street under the awning of a shuttered art gallery. The rain seemed too afraid to touch his tailored high-end coat. Tall, dark hair neatly trimmed, and that angular face painfully familiar. Cole Sterling. He was frowning at his phone, looking annoyed. My heart stopped for a second, then pounded like a war drum. I yanked my hood lower, turned away, and hurried in the opposite direction. But it was too late. Clara? That voice. Still deep and commanding, like I remembered, but with a hint of hesitation, uncertainty. It cut through the rain and pinned me in place. Slowly, I turned around. He'd crossed the street, his polished leather shoes sending ripples through rain puddles. He stood a few steps away, his eyes scanning me, my threadbare coat, worn sneakers, and the embarrassment I couldn't hide. Cole, I replied, his name feeling foreign on my lips after 5 years. What are you doing in this part of town? My car got stuck, he said, a flicker of irritation in his eyes. They said there's a gas leak in the financial district, blocked off a whole street. I'm walking to a meeting. He paused, his gaze sharpening. The real question is, what are you doing here? You look, he hesitated, searching for a polite word. Tired. I just shrugged, my hand clutching the bills in my coat pocket. Life, Cole. It just keeps going. Silence settled over us, broken only by the patter of rain. His eyes seemed to search for the woman he once knew, the ambitious, confident marketing director at Apex Dynamics. He sighed, a sound that felt like it had been held back for years. Let me give you a ride home. It's pouring. It wasn't a question. Before I could protest, he signaled a sleek black car waiting at the corner. Inside, the quiet was stifling. The smell of fresh leather and subtle cologne filled the air, a bitter contrast to the rain and desperation clinging to me. We drove in silence for a few minutes. I gave directions to my modest apartment in Beacon Hill, a world away from the glass towers downtown where he lived and worked. Finally, he broke the silence. His voice no longer held the initial surprise, only a deep, weary weight. 5 years, Clara. You vanished without a word. A resignation letter by email. What the hell happened? I stared out the window, raindrops racing across the glass. I needed a change. A change? He let out a laugh, but there was no humor in it. You were at the top of your game. You were the marketing genius behind our 2 biggest product launches. We had plans, and then you were gone. I thought I'd done something wrong. I thought... He stopped, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. The truth is, I didn't know what to think. All I knew was you didn't trust me, not enough to tell me the real reason. His last words hung in the space between us, heavier than the grim rain outside. It wasn't an accusation, but a painful truth that had simmered for 5 years, and I knew he was right. Cole's words hung in the stifling air of the car, an undeniable truth. He was right. I hadn't trusted him. That was the scratch that started it all. I turned from the window, facing him for the first time in 5 years without defenses or evasion. In his eyes, I saw not just anger, but a carefully hidden pain of betrayal. You're right, my voice rasped. I didn't trust you, but not in the way you think. I took a deep breath, the scent of the car's expensive leather nearly choking me. Do you remember Richard? Richard Webb, my mentor, the CFO back then? Cole frowned, nodding. Of course. He passed away from cancer not long after you left. Before he died, I continued, he was desperate. His wife had already passed, and he was drowning in medical bills for an experimental treatment insurance wouldn't cover. He did something stupid, Cole. He temporarily siphoned money from one of the company's secondary accounts. He swore to me he'd pay it back as soon as he sold his lake house. I found out. Cole's silence grew heavier. I could see his CEO brain working, calculating risks, violations, legal fallout. I confronted him. I went on, and I saw a broken man dying, just trying to cling to life. If I'd reported it, followed company protocol, you'd have been legally obligated to prosecute. The board would have demanded it. Richard would have died in jail instead of at home with his family. I couldn't do that, so I helped him cover it up with his promise the money would be repaid. I gave a bitter laugh, and I vanished. Because I knew if I stayed, I wouldn't be able to lie when you looked me in the eye and asked what was wrong. I chose to protect my mentor's last shred of dignity over trusting a CEO's compassion. That was my choice, and I've lived with it every day. The car stopped in front of my rundown apartment building. Cole didn't speak for a long time. He just stared ahead, hands still gripping the wheel. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost its edge, leaving only endless fatigue. "Richard paid the money back, Clara. A week after you left. He confessed everything to me before he died. I handled it myself. The board never knew. I thought you were involved and ran." He turned to look at me. I was wrong, but so were you, thinking I'd choose rules over people. He pulled a business card from his wallet. "This is my personal number. If you or your daughter need anything, consider it a debt for Richard's silence." He didn't wait for a reply, then drove off, leaving me alone under the thinning rain with a newly uncovered truth and a business card in my hand. 2 days later, my world had settled, at least for a moment. The $100 from the locket bought medicine and groceries. My small apartment, though shabby, was warm and filled with Maya's laughter. She sat in her playpen, occasionally looking up at me and babbling nonsense sounds. I was trying to mend an old sweater when there was a knock at the door. It was a hesitant knock, not like my neighbors. I peered through the peephole and my heart skipped. Derek, my ex-husband who'd walked out when Maya was a few months old, saying he wasn't ready to be a dad. He looked worn out, his clothes trying to look neat but failing to hide the sloppiness. I cracked the door open, blocking it with my body. "What do you want, Derek?" He looked at me with eyes I once thought were kind. "Clara, I'm sorry." He raised a hand as if to touch me, then pulled back. "I've been a jerk, I know that. I got scared and ran. But these past few days I can't stop thinking about you and the kid. I stayed wary. Why now?" "I saw you," he said, his voice thick with drama. "The other day downtown, you were talking to a guy, a rich guy. Looked a lot like Cole Sterling from Apex Dynamics. I realized, Clara, what I threw away. You deserve nice things, and I took that from you." He spoke, and for the first time in months, I saw something like regret in his eyes. The exhaustion of a single mom fighting alone surged up. Could it be? Could he have actually changed? "I'm not asking you to take me back," he said quickly, as if reading my doubt. "I just want to be part of Maya's life, provide for her, see her on weekends. I owe her that. I owe you that." I didn't answer. I just stood there, caution battling exhaustion. He stepped back, offering a sad smile. "Think about it, Clara. For Maya, a kid needs a dad. It'd be a shame if your life suddenly got more complicated." He turned away, leaving his last words hang in the air. It sounded like a plea, but there was something else beneath it, a cold threat I couldn't yet name. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and leaned against it, unease creeping into every corner of the safe haven I'd tried to build. The storm wasn't over. It was just catching its breath. Derek's words lingered in the air long after he left. Not an outright threat, but a slow poison seeping in. A kid needs a dad. Your life could get more complicated. He was planting a false choice in my head. Either let him into Maya's life or face some nameless trouble. For the next 2 days, I tried to shove his words out of my mind. I told myself they were just the desperate ramblings of a loser. I focused on Maya, on work, on stretching every penny to make sure we had enough. Cole's business card stayed untouched in a drawer, like a door to another world I wasn't ready to open. Part of me, the exhausted, worn-out part, secretly hoped Derek had truly changed, that he'd just disappear again. But guys like Derek never disappear quietly. That faint hope shattered on the third night with a ping from my phone. A text from an unknown number, but I knew it was him. The message was just a photo, an old, grainy shot snapped from a distance. It showed me and Cole laughing together at a company event over 5 years ago. We looked close, too close. Below it, a single line. "Nice memory, huh? You two look perfect together." Wonder what Apex's board would think. My blood ran cold. My breath caught in my chest. This wasn't a hint anymore. This was a threat. My hands shook as I typed back. "What do you want, Derek?" His reply came almost instantly. "I just want what I deserve. You hid your thing with the boss, then quit out of nowhere after a little financial scandal. I could spin a real juicy story from those pieces. $50,000. Wire it to this account by Friday, and this stays our little secret. $50,000. The number was absurd. He knew I didn't have a fraction of that. A burning anger overpowered my fear. "I don't have the money, and you know it. You're a liar and a blackmailer." My phone rang right after. It was him. I hesitated for a second, then hit answer, my hand clenched into a fist. Clara, Clara, his voice came through, dripping with fake sweetness, still as naive as ever. You really think this is just about money? Then what is it? I snapped. I could hear his sneer through the line, a sound that gave me goosebumps. The 50 grand was just to show you I'm serious, a fee for your attention. What I really want, it's way bigger. He paused, letting the silence add weight to his words. You think I'm jealous of you? Nah, Clara, I'm jealous of him. Cole Sterling, the golden boy of tech, the guy who's got it all, the one you always admired, even when you were with me. I saw how you looked at him in those old photos. His voice turned venomous, thick with long-buried toxic jealousy. I want to see him lose everything, Clara. I want his empire to crumble at his feet. And you're going to help me make that happen. You're insane, I whispered, real panic setting in, maybe. But I'm also smart. Remember that short-term IT contract I did for one of Apex's vendors? I left myself a little back door, got my hands on some real interesting stuff. Data on upcoming projects, secret acquisition talks. Apex's biggest rival, Cygnus Corp, would pay a fortune for this. Apex's stock would tank. A hostile takeover would be inevitable. Cole Sterling would be left with nothing. My world tilted. This wasn't just personal blackmail anymore. This was a corporate-level conspiracy, fueled by personal hatred. Why are you telling me this? I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. Because I'm giving you a choice, he said, his voice smug with control. Option 1, you do nothing, and I burn it all down. Option 2, you go to Cole Sterling. Tell him your ex-husband holds his company's fate in his hands. Demand he wires me $10 million and issues a public apology for causing emotional distress to your family. Make him humiliate himself. Your call. The future of thousands of Apex employees and your old flame rests in your hands. He hung up. I stood frozen in my living room, the phone slipping from my hand onto the worn rug. The silence of the apartment felt deafening. I glanced at Maya's crib, where she slept soundly, oblivious to the vicious storm poised to swallow her mother whole. Fear still gripped me, but now a stronger emotion surged up. Rage. Derek had misjudged me. He thought I was weak, easily manipulated. He thought I'd take the selfish way out to protect myself. He was wrong. This wasn't just my story anymore. With a resolve I didn't know I had, I walked to the drawer and pulled out the white business card. My fingers trembled, but my eyes were steady. I traced the sharply embossed name, Cole Sterling. I unlocked my phone, punched in the numbers, and then I hit call. The phone rang 3 times, each chime stretching like a century. I was about to hang up, thinking he wouldn't answer an unknown number this late. But then the line connected. Sterling, Cole's voice came through, not the warm tone he'd used in the car, but the sharp, efficient clip of a CEO. Short, professional, impatient. My throat went dry. Cole, it's me, Clara. Don't hang up. We're in trouble, big trouble. There was a pause on the other end. I could picture him frowning, processing. Clara, what's going on? Are you okay? Is this about... It's not about money, I cut in, my voice urgent and rushed. It's not even about me. It's about Apex, about you. My ex-husband, Derek, he's plotting against you. He's blackmailing me, but that's just the start. He says he's got sensitive company data and plans to sell it to your rivals to ruin you. The silence this time was heavier. I could hear him exhale slowly, a sound of disbelief and fatigue. Clara, what are you talking about? Are you sure you're not misreading something? This sounds insane. I know, I replied, fighting to keep my voice steady. I know it sounds crazy, but I have proof, Cole. I recorded the call. You need to hear it. He's not bluffing. Please trust me. The desperation in my voice seemed to pierce his professional armor. The silence stretched a few seconds longer, and when he spoke again, his tone had shifted entirely. It was cold as steel. Where are you? Don't go anywhere. Lock your door. Someone will pick you up in 20 minutes. Don't talk to anyone until then. He hung up before I could say thanks. Exactly 18 minutes later, a black, unmarked car pulled up outside my building. The driver didn't say a word, just opened the door for me. We didn't head toward Cole's penthouse, but straight to downtown, to the glass tower of Apex Dynamics. The building was still and empty at this late hour, lit only by security lights. I was led to a conference room on the executive floor. The room was cold and sterile, with a long wooden table and black leather chairs. Cole was there, but he wasn't alone. Next to him stood a woman I recognized instantly from business articles. Sloan, Apex's general counsel, Cole's right hand and closest confidant. She wore a perfectly tailored suit, her hair pulled back tightly, and her razor-sharp eyes assessed me with icy precision. "Miss Carter," Sloan spoke first, her voice professional, devoid of warmth. "I'm Sloan, Apex's legal counsel. Cole briefed me on the situation. Before we hear anything, you need to understand this conversation is confidential. Now, start from the beginning. Who is Derek Walsh? What's your relationship with him? And exactly what has he threatened?" It wasn't a conversation, it was an interrogation. Sloan fired questions with ruthless precision, probing for any cracks in my story. Cole sat silent, his face unreadable, watching every reaction, every blink. He was testing me. Instead of answering, I placed my phone on the polished table. "Listen for yourself." I hit play. Derek's recorded call filled the room's stark silence. His fake sweet voice, his sneering laugh, then his venomous, jealousy-fueled words about Cole. Every sentence, every word about his plan to sell data, destroy Apex, orchestrate a hostile takeover. I watched them. Sloan's skeptical expression slowly faded, replaced by intense focus. Her brows knitted. Beside her, I saw Cole's jaw tighten. The calm on his face began to crack, revealing a cold, dangerous anger. When the recording ended with Derek's final threat, no one spoke for a few seconds. Sloan broke the silence first. She looked at me, and this time, there was no doubt in her eyes. "All right," she said, her voice sharp. "We have a credible threat." She snapped into action mode. "We need to verify any potential data breach immediately. I'll call our cybersecurity team discreetly. We need everything on Derek Walsh, finances, contacts, work history." Cole finally spoke, and his voice sent a chill through me. He made a big mistake. He turned to me, his gaze no longer seeing me as a ghost from the past, but as a strategic asset. "You know him better than anyone," he said bluntly. "What's his weakness?" That question changed everything. I was no longer a victim begging for help. I was part of the fight. His arrogance, I answered without hesitation, and his greed. He's cocky, thinks he's smarter than everyone. He'll underestimate us. He expects us to panic and react predictably. Cole nodded, a dangerous glint in his eyes. He glanced at Sloan, then back at me. "Good," he said. "Then we won't." In that cold conference room high above a sleeping Seattle, an uneasy alliance was forged. The real battle had just begun. The air in the conference room shifted instantly. The tension of the interrogation vanished, replaced by a focused, urgent vibe, like a war room gearing up for battle. Sloan paced in front of a white glass board, her pen darting across it, sketching diagrams and bullet points. "Step 1, defense," she declared, her voice razor sharp. "I've ordered our cybersecurity team to lock down all external data ports. Any rogue data packet trying to leave our servers will be blocked and traced immediately. Not a single byte gets out." She circled a name, Derek Walsh. "My team's running a full digital sweep. Finances, contacts, internet history, every vulnerability. By morning, we'll know what brand of cereal he eats." Cole leaned against the window, staring at Seattle's twinkling lights below, but his mind was clearly elsewhere. "Defense isn't enough, Sloan. That's what he expects. He thinks we'll panic, hunker down. He wants to play a game. So let's play." He turned, his gaze locking onto me. The coldness was gone, replaced by strategic calculation. "Clara, you said his weakness is arrogance. Dig deeper. If you were him, after making this threat, what's his next move? How does he keep the upper hand?" This was my moment. I wasn't the broken woman from the pawn shop anymore. The analytical mind of the marketing director I used to be kicked back into gear. I stood, stepping toward the board. "He won't sit quiet," I said. "Silence would make him nervous. He needs to feel in control. He'll keep the pressure on, maybe by leaking a small piece of data to prove he's not bluffing." I paused, meeting Cole's eyes. "But more than that, he doesn't just want money. Money's just a tool. What he really craves is your fear and recognition. He wants a show, a secret deal. A quiet payoff won't satisfy his twisted ego. He wants to see you humbled." Sloan stopped writing. "You're saying he'd want a public meeting?" "No, the opposite," I explained. "He'll think a public meeting is too risky for us, so he'll push for somewhere private. But deep down, he's dying for a stage. That's the contradiction we can exploit. We need to set a trap that feels like a spotlight, but is actually a courtroom we control." Cole smiled, a cold smile with no trace of warmth. The annual tech charity gala, he said softly, and Sloan and I got it instantly. It was the biggest event in Seattle's tech scene, hosted by Apex Dynamics, just 4 days away. Hundreds of CEOs, investors, and reporters would be there. The plan came together fast. "Clara, you'll be the one to contact him," Cole said, his voice firm. "Tell him I'm freaking out, that I'm ready to negotiate, but I'm scared of being set up, of being recorded. So I'll only meet somewhere crowded where I feel safe, where no one can pull anything shady. Suggest the gala." Sloan jumped in, her eyes gleaming with calculation. "He'll bite. He'll think in a crowd like that, we won't dare make a move. He'll feel like a wolf slipping in among sheep. And that's when we spring the trap," I said, adrenaline surging through me. "Exactly," Sloan confirmed. "We'll hire a top-tier security expert, someone with killer acting skills. He'll pose as a powerful broker representing an anonymous third party looking to buy Derek's data for a higher price. He'll approach Derek at the gala in a VIP area we've rigged with hidden cameras and tiny mics. We'll record everything," Cole finished, his full confession, his entire betrayal, his offer to sell company secrets. "We'll have it all." The plan was perfect, bold and brutal, but it hinged on one thing. It required me to face the demon of my life head on. As Sloan left to make the first calls, Cole stepped closer to me. The strain of a CEO in crisis eased, revealing a flicker of personal concern. "You sure you can do this, Clara?" he asked softly, facing him like this. After everything? I looked him in the eye, and for the first time in years, I felt a steady strength inside. 5 years ago, I ran. I'm not running anymore. He's not just threatening you, Cole. He threatened my daughter's safety by trying to manipulate her mother's life. For Maya, I can do anything. Respect shone in his eyes. He gave a single nod, a silent acknowledgement. "All right, call him. Set the trap." I picked up the phone, my heart pounding, but my hands steady. I was ready. The game was on. I took a deep breath, feeling Cole and Sloan's eyes locked on me. The conference room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I dialed Derek's number. This time, he picked up on the first ring, like a predator patiently waiting for its prey to surrender. "Clara," his voice came through, dripping with smugness he couldn't hide. "I knew you'd call." I swallowed hard, channeling every acting skill I didn't know I had. My voice trembled, hesitant, exactly as they needed it to be. "Derek, you were right." I talked to Cole. "And," he pressed, the eagerness in his voice downright repulsive. "He's freaking out," I whispered, as if afraid someone might overhear. "I've never seen him like this. He's talking about the board, the investors. He says he'll lose everything. He's ready to negotiate." A gleeful laugh burst through the line. "I knew it. I knew that Sterling guy was just a shiny shell. Push him against the wall, and he's just a coward." The gloating in his voice sparked my rage, but I buried it, staying in character. "He's on board," I continued, "but he's got conditions. He's too paranoid about being recorded or set up in a private meeting. He says he'll only talk at the tech charity gala on Saturday night, in public, with hundreds of people around. He thinks it's safer for him that way." Derek went silent for a moment, and in a heart-stopping second, I thought he'd smelled a trap. But then he laughed again, louder this time. "Safer, huh? How naive. He thinks I won't dare make a move in a crowd? Fine. I like a big stage. Tell your boss I'll be there. The rooftop garden, 9 p.m., just the two of them. I want to look him in the eye when he begs." "I'll let him know," I replied, and hung up. I looked up at Cole and Sloan. "He took the bait," I said, a cold mix of relief and fear coursing through me. The next 4 days passed like a strange dream. By day, my life stayed the same. I took care of Maya, cooked simple meals, tidied our small apartment. But at night, when Maya was asleep, my world turned into a spy thriller. Sloan kept me updated through encrypted texts. Their cybersecurity team confirmed an old vulnerability in a vendor's system Derek had worked on, and they were quietly patching it. They tracked his every digital move and found he tried contacting a tech journalist known for hit pieces. He was covering all his bases. The security expert Sloan hired, a guy named Finch, was introduced to me via video call. He had a disarming face and an uncanny ability to shift his demeanor. In a split second, he could go from family man to ruthless venture capitalist. The plan was mapped out to the second. One evening, as I rocked Maya in my arms trying to lull her to sleep, my phone buzzed. It was Cole. "Just checking in," he said, his voice tinged with fatigue. "How you holding up?" The simple question caught me off guard. Not about the plan, not about Derek, just about me. I'm okay, I answered, just stressed. Remember, you're not in this alone, Clara, he said softly. We won't let anything happen to you. The call lasted only a minute, but it meant more than he knew. It gave me strength. Then, the night of the gala arrived. I wasn't the Clara in the worn-out coat anymore. A stylist sent by Sloan had transformed me. I wore a sapphire blue evening gown that hugged my frame, my hair swept up elegantly, baring my neck and shoulders. Professional makeup hid the sleepless nights, and for the first time in years, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a tired single mom. I saw a strong woman. This wasn't a dress. It was my armor. The familiar black car took us to the Seattle Art Museum's Grand Hall, where the gala was in full swing. Camera flashes popped relentlessly. The hum of conversation, clinking glasses, and soft jazz filled the air. Hundreds of the city's most powerful people were here, draped in dazzling outfits and practiced smiles. Before stepping out in the privacy of the car, Cole turned to me. He wore a tailored tuxedo, exuding power and a lethal calm. Sloan sat in the front, reviewing final details on her tablet. Sloan will be in the control room with Finch's team. Everything's monitored, Cole said, his eyes fixed on me. All you need to do is get him to the rooftop garden. Finch will be there, posing as a guest having a smoke. He'll take it from there. Leave the rest to us. I nodded, taking a deep breath to steady my pulse. Ready? He asked. I glanced out the window at the glittering crowd streaming into the grand hall. It felt like walking into a lion's den. Ready, I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. The car door opened. I stepped out, head high, and walked with Cole into the glow of lights and smiles. My eyes began scanning the crowd, searching for a familiar face, a sly smirk I once trusted. The game was reaching its final act. Stepping into the museum's grand hall, I instantly felt the weight of hundreds of eyes. As the gala's host, Cole was immediately swarmed by business partners, investors, and city politicians. I played the part of a mysterious, elegant companion, smiling, nodding, but my eyes never stopped scanning the room. My heart thrummed in my chest, a symphony of fear and resolve. Every sense was dialed to its peak. And then I saw him. Derek stood near a bar in the corner, clutching a glass of wine he looked completely out of place with. He was trying to blend in, but the tension in his stance and his darting eyes betrayed him. He was like a wolf pretending to be a guest in a sheep pen. Our eyes met across the crowd. He smirked, a smug curl of his lips, and gave a subtle nod toward the rooftop exit. That was the signal. I leaned close to Cole's ear. "It's time," I whispered. He just nodded, his expression unchanged as he chatted with the senator. I slipped away from the group, moving gracefully through the crowd. Each step toward the rooftop felt heavier than the last. The glass door swung open, and the party's clamor gave way to the quiet of Seattle's night and a soft breeze. Derek was already there, leaning against the glass railing, gazing at the glittering city below. "I was starting to think you wouldn't show," he said without turning. "A performance needs an audience," I replied, my voice icy. He turned, his smile now unmasked. "Look at you, Clara. Stunning. A queen next to a king about to fall. Where's Cole? Hiding in some corner, crying? He'll be here," I lied. "He's tying up a few things." Right then, a man in a sharp suit, looking faintly bored, stepped onto the rooftop to smoke. It was Finch. He lit a cigarette, exhaled a plume, and casually drifted closer. "Sorry to interrupt," Finch said, his tone nonchalant, "but I couldn't help overhearing you mention a king about to fall. Sounds more like a business opportunity than a tragedy." Derek narrowed his eyes, sizing up Finch's expensive suit and wristwatch. "Who are you?" "Just a guy who bets on second-place horses, as long as they've got a shot at winning," Finch replied, extending a hand. "And I hear you're holding an ace that could flip the whole race." Derek's ego took the bait. This was the validation he craved. "Maybe," Derek said, shaking Finch's hand. "But my info doesn't come cheap. The best things never do," Finch said with a grin. "Can we talk somewhere more private?" Derek, fully hooked, led Finch to a secluded lounge area at the far end of the rooftop, exactly where the cameras and mics were hidden. I watched from a distance, my heart in a vice. I couldn't hear their words, but I could see it all. Derek's animated gestures, his face lit with triumph as he bragged about his plan, the data he had, how he'd sell it to Cygnus and bring Cole Sterling down. He was writing his own indictment, oblivious to it. After about 5 minutes, Finch gave a discreet signal, tapping his cigarette. The rooftop door opened again. This time, Cole and Sloan stepped out, followed by two towering building security guards. Derek and Finch turned. Derek's face drained of color when he saw Cole. He thought this was his moment for a one-on-one showdown. But Sloan stepped forward. She held up a tablet, its screen displaying a pulsing audio waveform of their conversation. Derek Walsh. Sloan's voice was cold as ice. Every word you just said about stealing confidential data, plotting to sell it to a competitor, and blackmail has been recorded. Under Washington state law, you're being detained for investigation of corporate espionage and extortion. The smugness on Derek's face dissolved into sheer panic. He stammered. What? What? You can't. He spun toward me, his eyes blazing with pure hatred. You set me up. I stepped forward, and this time, there wasn't a trace of fear in me. You underestimated me, Derek, I said, my voice calm and clear. You always did. The two security guards moved in, escorting a shouting, cursing Derek through the door, disappearing into the gala, leaving a sudden silence on the rooftop. When it was over, only Cole and I remained under the night sky. The music and bustle of the party felt like another world. We did it, I whispered. 6 months later, I sat in my office. It was a space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Union. My desk wasn't cluttered with sales reports, but with community project plans. On the wall behind me hung the logo of the Apex Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to funding families with children facing rare diseases. I was the executive director. Cole hadn't just given me financial security. He'd given me a purpose. The door opened and he walked in, holding 2 coffee cups. He smiled, a warm smile free of the past burdens. Ready for lunch, boss? He teased. Maya's waiting at daycare. I smiled back. Life was different. We were different. They say time heals all wounds, but that's not true. Forgiveness does. Forgiving others, and more importantly, forgiving yourself for past mistakes. That scratch from Seattle will never fully fade. It's there, a reminder that even after the worst storm, dawn still breaks. And sometimes, you don't need to forget the past. You just need to learn to grow with it.